Four-Wheel Travel presented by Vintage Guitar Magazine. With your host, me, James Patrick Regan, otherwise known as Jimmy from the Deadlies. And today I'm speaking with singer-songwriter and guitarist Ray LaMontagne. In our conversation, Ray talks about living in Western Massachusetts and selling a Volkswagen van early on that belonged to he and his wife for a Martin guitar. And Ray talks about his wife's support of his music. Ray describes his early musical experiences and how he went from writing songs for himself and occasionally playing a coffee house to becoming a superstar, albeit a humble one. Ray talks about his friendship with Stephen Stills, and Ray talks about his guitars, his 70s Martin and his Paul Reed Smith acoustics, and Ray discusses his tunings and his method of amplifying his acoustics. Ray discusses his upcoming tour and his album Trouble that came out 20 years ago. And finally, Ray tells us about his songwriting process and what he does in his spare time, and his love of classic cars. To find out more about Ray and to see his tour dates, you can go to his website, raylamontagne.com. That's RayLamontagne.com. Please subscribe, like, comment, share, and most of all, review this podcast. I'd really appreciate it. And please support Vintage Guitar Magazine and all the wonderful things they do for us guitar players, because they do so many wonderful things for us guitar players. Here's my buddy Ray.
Hi, James.
Hey, Ray, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Are you in Western Massachusetts right now?
I am, yeah.
And is it a working farm?
Oh, no.
No. It's just a nice place to spend your time.
Nice place to be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's an honor to meet you. I'm a big fan of your music.
Thank you. It's very kind of you.
Oh, believe me. Back when you were recording the record, what kind of guitar were you using?
I think at that time I had a Martin. Gosh, I might have been a D28. It's been a long time since I've played that guitar. So
yeah. That makes sense.
I think it was a D28 from like the 70s or something.
Okay. Wow. That sounds great. Who was the producer of the record?
Ethan Johns.
Ethan Johns. Did he pick out the guitar, or was it a guitar that you've been playing the whole time?
Oh, it was just a guitar I had. Okay. I had fixed up a Volkswagen van. My wife and I traveled across the country in it, and I saw this guitar for sale in Minnesota in a classified ad. And I sold our van so that I could buy that guitar.
Wow.
Which, was a big, really big decision at the time.
Sure. Yeah. How'd your wife feel about that?
My sweet wife, I've known her since I was 8 years old. So she is my best friend.
Okay.
And she was always very supportive of me. Yeah. Even that decision, she was supportive of.
That's great. And did you have other guitars at the time?
No.
Oh, really?
No.
So, were you playing out at that time?
Let me think back. Yeah, there's a lot of years under the bridge.
Yeah.
I think I had one gig in Wisconsin.
Okay.
During that whole period, that whole 2-year period, I think I played once at a coffee shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
And had you been writing songs? You must have been writing songs.
Yeah, writing songs for myself. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And what gave you the gumption to play at a coffee house?
Well, I had seen someone. Playing, and I thought if I could make $10, doing this, it would help with, gas money or whatever. Because we were living pretty hand to mouth, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I thought maybe I would try it, but I have to say I didn't like it very much, and I didn't. And I don't think people liked it either. So it was, I only played a handful of gigs, really. And never did any busking or any of that crazy crap. It was nothing. I wrote songs for myself, It was just the way I expressed myself. But there was no thought to it becoming anything other than something I did for myself.
Yeah. And you mentioned living hand to mouth. So what kind of work were you doing?
Anything. I did carpentry.
Okay.
I would do factory work if that's all I could find.
Uh-huh.
Anything really. Yeah.
Yeah. How far was it from where were you living at the time?
When I bought this guitar,
Where when you went to basically when you had the van.
yeah, we were in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
My uncle had given me some work with him,
Okay.
so he was letting my wife, myself, and my young son at the time rent a room in his house, and then he gave me some work.
Yeah. Wow. How do you go from selling a van, buying a guitar, to getting a record deal?
Well, it didn't happen overnight.
Nope.
It was a
It certainly didn't.
long process, but I can give you a condensed version if you want.
Sure.
Condensed version is that at some point I wanted to just see if I couldn't get a couple gigs here and there, like I say, to make $20 or 15. And so I made a demo of some songs so that I could drop them off at coffee shops and see if I couldn't get something.
Yeah.
And I really didn't get anything, really. A couple things here and there, and a lot of rejection, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But at one point, I met someone who was running a festival in Maine, and he was a friend of our family, sort of. And he knew I was singing a little bit, and he said, "You should come and play a set at this festival I'm putting together." And so we did. I went down there with Sarah. She came with me, and I played this set. I played this set, and then after the gig, I was putting stuff away, and Sarah came and said, "Some guy just gave me $20 for a $5 demo, a disc." He just said he loved it, and I was like, "That's nice." I would say probably 6 months after that, this guy found me.
Yeah.
He said, "I want to give this to a friend of mine who I went to college with, who is in the music business now. Is that okay if I do that?" And I said, "Sure, you can do that." Nothing. 3 months later, I get a call from this guy, and he says, "I'm a friend of so-and-so. He sent me your disc. I work at Hollywood Records at Disney. Do you want to come out and meet my boss?" So I talked to Sarah, and she said it was, I should try it. So I went out, and I met these guys at this record company, spent a couple days, played a show at a club with Stephen Still's daughter.
Wow.
I met Stephen Stills was there and gave me tons of shit.
Oh, man.
Oh, he did. He was harsh.
Oh, really?
In a yeah, he did. He was really I shouldn't say he was harsh. I don't know if you've ever met Stephen, but
no,
he is insane. But he razzed me. But anyway, I went back home again, and then I got a call a couple weeks later saying Hollywood Records wants to offer you a deal.
Wow.
And I said no, because I didn't like the way they made me feel. There was something about them. They felt very cynical, very greasy, and just something about it at a gut level didn't feel right. And I just said no. He thought I was crazy, and that was it. I went back to my life, kept working, and I would say a year, maybe 10 months, a year later, he calls me back and says, "I've moved over to another job. I'm working at a publishing house now. Will you come out and meet my boss here?" So I went back out to LA, met this guy for a publishing company, and I really liked him. He was a great guy. And he, took an interest in me as a songwriter and thought we ought to record some new demos and see if some artists might want to cover my songs.
Yeah.
So now I'm stepping into being a songwriter, or that role potentially, and I thought that was a great opportunity, and it suited me, my personality. And so we, went into the studio with Ethan to make some demos.
Yeah.
But it became pretty clear that everyone involved, with the best intentions, but they all felt that my songs weren't finished, that these songs were ideas and not finished. So songs like Burn, like All the Wild Horses, even Trouble. There's no real bridge in Trouble. Sheltered, there's no bridge. Some songs are just verses and then they end, or a chorus and then they end. You know, they're shaped very the way I felt.
Yeah.
Right at the, you know, I felt they were right. But this started to come at me where you know, we want you to co-write with people to finish your songs. And so I'll never forget, I was in the Best Western above the 101 Cafe in my hotel room, and I called Sarah after like the third day, and I said, "Sweetie, I think they just don't really like the way I write, and they want me to rewrite these things. They want me to work with other songwriters." And she just said, in her very matter-of-fact way, "How does it make you feel?" And I said, "I'm resisting. I like the songs the way they are, and that's how they are." And she said, "Well, that's it. That's the answer." So from that point, I was just like an immovable wall. Any suggestion that came my way, I would just deflect it. And at one point, I think they just got the picture. We're going to record these the way I wrote them, and I'm going home. And if you like them, great. And if other people like them, great. And if they don't, I have a life, a real life, a job, a wife, 2 sons at that point. So we did it, went home, and that's what Trouble is. Those are the demos we recorded.
Wow. Oh, that's fantastic.
And they shopped them around. They shopped them around for a year, and no one wanted to sing them. But what happened was, in that shopping around process, the record labels started to hear it. You know, as they're playing it for their artists who are turning them down, the record label guys are saying, "This guy's got something unique. Let's talk to him about when he sings them, they work." And that's how that started. So it was a long process.
Going back to playing with Stephen Still's daughter, had you known her beforehand, or did you just got placed on the bill with her?
No, I just I met her through the guy who brought me out to meet his boss. He was a friend of hers.
Okay. Wow.
It was totally out of the blue. Yeah.
And then she ended up singing with you on one of your records, or
she did. Yeah. She came out to sing on one of the songs from Trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's Narrow Escape, if I'm not mistaken. I think she came out and sang on Narrow Escape.
Okay. And did you ever get a chance to re-meet Stephen Stills?
Yes. Stephen has, since that time, after that first initial meeting where he said I was sitting too far away from the mic, he's come out to several shows. Completely out of the blue. I would just be in my dressing room and I'll hear someone banging on the door, like just banging on it. And I'll open it and there he is. And the last time I saw him, he just said that he was proud of me.
Okay.
And he's a very odd, I don't want to say odd, he's a very strange personality. He really is. I think he knows how much I admire his music, especially early on in the Manassas records.
Sure.
You know, really were life-changing to me. That first Manassas record is just, they're both great, but the first one is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have seen him several times since, and he's always very kind. Yeah.
Good. Glad to hear it. Did you have any idea the impact of taking a record deal was going to have on your life?
No, and it didn't feel life-changing in any way because
it was day to day.
Yeah, because it was the same. My life just continued on. I just, except that from that point forward, it was real touring started to come together, and I had to commit to real touring for myself. Obviously, you have to work, but it was more. I was just in a rental car with my guitar and a box of harmonicas going from gig to gig. And
wow.
There was, sometimes there would be 3 people there, and one of them is the sound guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like anyone else. It was just that I had made the decision to try it and to see if it was going to work for real. By that point, I had come around to just saying, this is a challenge for myself spiritually. I need to just see, can I do this? Can I bring people into my music? And I gave myself 5 years. And I thought, if I can't do it in 5 years, then that's it. It just won't happen. I'll just go back to doing what I did before.
Yeah. Well, luckily it hit pretty quickly.
Yeah, luckily it did.
Yeah. Were you capable of having control of the record companies and saying that, hey, I want to keep my touring like livable, and have my family with me and stuff like that.
Well, I would say that I knew who I was, and so, you know, and again, a lot of people will say this. It's funny because they will say that people kind of think it just happened overnight. Like the record came out and it was instantly, you know, people instantly heard it and liked. I don't think it just didn't happen that way. It was like a slow burn. And, you know, record 2 came along and I recorded, and, you know, that album, and that would barely got, I mean, they almost rejected it. So, you know, they weren't happy about that record at all. But I had one good friend in RCA who believed in me and got it through. And the same with the third record. That was a tough record. Because initially it didn't have Best Thing on it. And, you know, You Are the Best wasn't even on that record. And it was basically rejected. We need to have a single. So without a single, this record isn't going to be put out. So it was a challenge all the way through. But I had that song in my back pocket. Mm-hmm. I just didn't, I wasn't sure how I wanted to record it.
Yeah.
And it was initially a much slower, more of a ballad type of a song. And I just changed the arrangement so that they would hear something up tempo, and then that would be enough for them, and it did.
Yeah, of course.
That's all they needed to hear at the time. Up tempo, you know.
Yeah.
But it was a slow burn. But my wife and sons were never interested in coming out to shows or going on the road with me at all. It's too hard, especially in the beginning. It's all clubs and it's not glamorous in any way. It's hard work.
Sure.
It's ruling, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you acquire more guitars as your career grew?
Only out of necessity. Mm-hmm. Only out of necessity, because at a certain point you realize that the whole show stops if you only have one guitar and you break a string, you know. And that happened early on because I only had one guitar for, you know, 5 years of my music career.
Wow.
I just played one.
That 70s Martin?
Yeah, and I would just tune it down or tune it up or change the tuning, and it would just, at some point, someone finally came along and said, Ray, you need more guitars, and you got to tune them so that you can make a quick change. And, you know, if you break a string, you got a backup for each one. And, you know, now I travel with, you know, 8 guitars or something because there's a backup for every one. And then they're all different tunings. And, you know,
when you say different tunings, are they like, are you doing open G and open D, or is it something that you've come up with on your own?
They are, I play a lot of things a half step down. So standard tuning with a half step down.
Sure.
I have some songs that are standard tuning but a whole step down. Mm-hmm. I have songs that are a whole step down with drop
D.
E's even then, so you're way down.
Yeah.
And that was a whole journey to try to find guitars that can handle that, because most professional guitars can't. Martins can't do it. Gibsons can't do it.
Yeah.
Any guitars that want to be a Martin can't do it.
So what guitars are you using? Well, who's making the guitars that you're using?
So an interesting thing happened. I've always struggled with acoustic guitars, and I've never been happy with them. Whether I've had $150,000 Martin in my arms, and playing it and saying, this just sounds horrible.
Sure.
You have to be very delicate with those guitars to get the most out of them. Mm-hmm. And I hit a guitar just a little bit harder. Not all the time, but a little bit harder. And then what was happening was I would really slam on these Martins and bourgeois guitars and froggy guitars, all these things, and they just react. It's diminishing returns. They don't like it. Yeah. It's delicate, and you get the most out of them, but it's not the way I play. I was restoring a house here in the Berkshires, and this great company from Vermont, all of these old-timers who love historic homes, and they know how to do it the old way with hand tools and things. Yeah. One of these master carpenters was a guitar guy, and he would bring a guitar down from Vermont every once in a while for me to try out. You should try out. It's a Froggy Bottom. I play it, and I'd be like, yeah, that's okay. It just doesn't give me what I want. On and on. Well, one day he brought a Paul Reed Smith acoustic, which I immediately thought, Paul Reed Smith, those are those flashy electric guitars. I'm like a Telecaster guy, simple, unadorned. Well, I thought I would just play it to humor him. And I played this Paul Reed Smith acoustic guitar, which weighed 1,000 pounds. And it was, after 5 minutes, I was just like, I love this thing. It has so much projection, and I can play delicate and it projects. And then I can hit it a little bit harder and dig in a little bit and it projects even more. I tune it down all the way, whole step down, play it, same thing, projection. It just gives, but delicate or when you dig in, and no other guitar I've ever played will do that. And so I called Paul, and he was very nice and open, and sent me some guitars to play. And from that moment on, I've just played his private collection acoustic guitars.
Wow.
And at one point, I tracked down Steve Fisher. He's the guy who helped Paul develop that guitar.
Sure, yeah, of course.
And Steve is in Utah.
Uh-huh.
And I asked Steve if he would build me one. And he built me a guitar, which is a little bit lighter. It's braced a little different than they did for the PRS guitars, but it still has that projection and delicate end when you dig into it a bit. And that's been my studio guitar since that point. It's on all the records, and I absolutely love what Steve does.
Uh-huh.
Steve Fisher is really an artist. But the Paul Reed Smith acoustics, I'm telling you, a lot of people raise their eyebrows, but you've just got to listen to the recordings that are made with them and play one.
Yeah.
And they will give you everything you need with those dynamics. It's really out of this world.
Yeah.
You know, the game changer for me. And they are astoundingly stable on the road. And my guitar tech has been with Springsteen forever. And he comes out with me all the time. And he constantly says, Ray, I don't have to do anything to these guitars. Can you give me something to do? He's like, we go 3 shows. I don't even have to retune them.
Wow.
I go outside, inside, back outside again. Yeah. They are like rock solid, stable. So all he does is change the strings. Uh-huh. It's crazy. Yeah. You can't tour with an old Martin guitar. They go all over the place.
Oh, sure, of course.
You know? But
yeah. Are you using acoustic pickups, or is it just mic'd?
In the Paul Reed Smith guitars, he has his own pickup system in the guitars, but we absolutely blend it with a mic. Uh-huh. and I lean on the mic heavy, so sure, it's like an 80-20 mix. There's a little bit of the DI in there, but it's mostly the mic.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I mean, there's no guitar pickup. It's just getting the best sound of it. None of them are going to sound like an acoustic guitar.
No, you've got to mic it, and then just give it for a little bit of the top end. Use that DI to get a little clarity, a little crispness. Uh-huh. But yeah, the mic is where you get all that warmth and roundness. And yeah.
Are you traveling with a band now?
Oh yeah.
And who's in the band?
Seth Kaufman. He plays bass and other things. He's a producer, songwriter out of North Carolina. His band is Floating Action. It's just him, but he's a genius. Uh-huh. And Ariel Bernstein plays percussion. And my friend Matt Smith, he's got a band called Twain. He's out of North Carolina too, and he plays a bunch of instruments as well and sings. Okay. So,
wow. And so the tour doesn't start until August. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah.
And is it all fly dates, or are you traveling in a bus, or?
Oh no, it's bus. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. And that's pretty intense.
Yeah.
How does your voice hold up in traveling by bus?
99% of the time I'm fine. Uh-huh. But if I get a cold or something, which is always the worst scenario, you get a head cold, that affects it, of course. Yeah. It's all just about staying healthy, really, because it's an endurance test.
Yeah.
You've got 30 shows in 6 weeks, and you've got to stay healthy. And if all it takes is a little bit of a head cold, and you do something just a little wrong, you push something one night, and then you're hurting the next day, and then you can't sing. But it happens pretty rarely. I mean, in all the years I've played, I think I've canceled 3 shows, maybe. Yeah. So
yeah,
I hold up pretty well. But we'll see going forward. I mean, I'm 52 in a week or so. So
you're a kid.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
In my eyes, you're a kid. You mentioned carpentry earlier. Do you do carpentry?
I don't. No.
No,
No.
no, no.
Oh, I putz around, and I'm handy,
Hmm.
as my wife will tell you. I'm very handy to have around. But no, I don't do any serious carpentry. And once music came along, that was the focus.
Yeah, yeah. And so, what do you do when you're not touring? When you're not creating music, are you writing songs? What are you doing for fun?
I often go, months and months and months without playing the guitar or writing or anything. I give it lots of space, and whenever I get a melody, if something is knocking on the door and I get a melody, I'll record it quickly just to set it aside.
Hmm.
But it's usually once every year. Usually in the winter is when I sit down and really give it time and listen to all the melodies I've set aside, and then see if any songs want to live.
Are you recording it formally, or are you just putting it on your iPhone?
I just use my iPhone to catch a melody, or an idea, so that I can just go on with my day.
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
And so, when you're not working, what does your day consist of?
Well, I do lots of. Of course, we live in a beautiful area to get outside, so we go hiking together, of course, and
Yeah.
I love old cars. I'm always messing with an old car.
What do you got?
Well, I'd rather not talk about
Okay.
anything, but my favorite at the moment, the car I'm driving around the most, is a '62 Porsche 356.
Oh, right on.
Which I really love.
Yeah. That's a car.
I found a really beautiful old, unrestored 356 that has just been loved, and it just has a lot of soul.
Yeah, of course. That's great. That's fantastic. It's one of the things that you can truly appreciate is a beautiful car like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. They used to do that. Imagine it. I mean, to make a car for everyday working class Joe that just happened to be beautiful and reliable.
Yeah.
Beautiful for the sake of being beautiful.
Yes, exactly.
We don't do that anymore.
Not much.
No, not much. No.
Not much. Well, Ray, I really appreciate your time. It's been wonderful speaking with you.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
And if I'm in California, hopefully your tour takes you to California, and so I'll get to see you perform.
Well, thanks, James. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, have a great day.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to Have Guitar Will Travel. You can catch up on all the things I'm doing at thedeadlies.com, and I'm on all the social media platforms as well. And please support Vintage Guitar and all the wonderful things they do, because they do many, many wonderful things for us guitar players. Thanks. Please subscribe. Please tell a friend, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.